Chapter 44. The Condemned Cell. A prison in a house of care, a place where none can thrive, a touchstone true to try a friend, a grave for men alive. Sometimes a place of right, sometimes a place of wrong, sometimes a place of rogues and thieves, and honest men among. Inscription on the old prison of Edinburgh. Hi-ho, I said to myself, here's food for reflection. Life is full of surprises wherever our lot may be cast, and on whatever world we may happen to be. Were it not so, 'twould hardly be worth being born and living. My trip to this planet has abounded in pleasing incident and exciting adventure. It begins with a voyage to the South Pole of my Mother Earth, where I discover an open polar sea and wave the stars and stripes over its rolling billows. Then comes an iceberg prison from which I am fired out amidst blazing and bomb-bursting icebergs. I kill a 20-foot shark with an ice pick, meet a blind professional mind reader who overhauls my brain cells while I am sound asleep and extracts their linguistic furniture within 48 hours. I travel on an Ethervolt car through an empty space at the rate of 100 miles to 20 million miles per minute, reach a spot where I lose all my weight, avoir du poids, perform a death dance in chaos and encounter more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in Hamlet's philosophy or anybody's philosophy, ride on an airship that defies the lightning, on the back of a genuine Leviathan, and on a big eagle's back. I see the stars and stripes float in the skies, and hear the star-spangled banner played from the military bands of this other world. I drink from the fountain of youth, fight alligator bats, eat and drink refreshments created from thin air, see and hear genuine singing flowery spirits, get my fortune told. And here it comes exactly as predicted, a duel, and danger of death according to program. The love affair comes next, elopement with a married woman, flight, injured husband, pistols, bound to come, sure as fate, by Jupiter. A pretty pickle I've got myself in by accepting a foreign minister's invitation to dinner. No, it's not I, but my fate, dinner or no dinner, and fate is the sole arbiter of human affairs. What's to be done in my case? 'Tis said that fortune favors the bold. Well, I'll put on a bold face and face my fortune. Perhaps she'll smile on me. In the meantime, I would give $50 this minute, provided I had it, if the old Commodore were only here to enliven me with his "Cheer up, me brave boy! Never say die! All right, cock-a-doodle-doo!" I now proceeded to take a survey of my prison cell. It was commodious, blue stone walls, floor, ceilings, somewhat suggestive of the blues. There was a rug, cot, table, 2 chairs, and a toilet stand. 2 heavily barred windows on one side of the room emitted plenty of air and light, with a cheerful display of prison cells all around the area. On the opposite side was a single barred window screened with a curtain and apparently communicating with another cell. Towards afternoon my jailer entered, accompanied by his 2 turnkeys. He was an old Pluto-Martian of grim but honest aspect. His name was Hardigoth, and a man of few kind words. The turnkeys were big burly fellows with coarse, ruffian faces. They brought me a suit of prison clothes. I put them on, and hung my uniform on the wall. They removed my valuables, among which one I prized more highly than all, a handkerchief presented to me by the Princess Sulimia, with her initials worked by her own fair hand. They permitted me to retain my watch. Night coming on, a light was lit in the corridor. Its rays shone through the barred transom over the door, and I retired to my cot. The days passed on. I was allowed no communication with the outer world, and to all my queries the jailer was mute. I was alternatively buoyed up with hope from the promise of the minister, and sunk in the depths of gloom. One day I thought I detected a glance of pity in the eyes of my stern and impassive jailer. "Many a prisoner of state has languished out his life in these dungeons," said he. "I haven't the slightest doubt of it," I replied. "But by the way, Hardigoth, it's rather tedious here. Can't you give me something to read, to while away the time?" You want something cheerful and lively? He asked. It would be quite acceptable. The next day he sent me a package of books. I opened them with joyful expectation. There were several. The principal subjects: Meditations in a Dungeon, Reflections of a Prisoner on the Eve of Execution, Natural History of Death, Is Life Worth Living, How to Cheat the Hangman, Lawfulness of Suicide, The Easiest Ways to Shuffle Off This Mortal Coil, etc. How do you like your books? He asked on his next visit. Exceedingly cheerful and entertaining class of literature, I replied. Eminently appropriate to the occasion, calculated to drive away dull care, inspire perfect contentment and peace of mind. Our prisoners of state generally have enjoyable times all their lives before they get here. Our governor thinks it's best to turn their thoughts in more serious directions, so they may be led to reflect on the dark side of life, he said with a grim smile. It is a good thing for man to see and experience a little of both sides, I replied. It teaches him the vanity of human affairs generally. You are right, and confinement in a death cell, or a long and painful illness, are about the best things to prepare a man for translation to a better world. They tend, more than anything else, to inculcate humility, resignation, and other modes of self-preservation, which if a man avails himself of them, will put him in a tolerable, respectable trim for the journey. But if he refuses those wholesome teachings, his journey will probably be in another direction. I agreed that my jailer's philosophy was, in the main, correct. "'Tis not that the gallows is a passport to heaven," continued he, "but it is sometimes one of the necessary means of preparation for the journey. Between you and me, Lieutenant, it's my humble opinion that people who live in ease, luxury, and enjoyment here, and pass away comfortably in their beds, will have rather a hard time of it on that journey to where they flatter themselves they're going, even if they ever get there." I was compelled to admit that Hardigoth's view was not far from the truth, and that many of those who have such an easy and comfortable times here may find out, somewhat to their disappointment, that Jordan am a hard road to travel. One evening he entered my cell, and with the air of mystery whispered, "A lady has called to see you." "Who is she?" "I know not. She has a permit from the Minister of State to the governor." "Admit her." He opened the door. A lady entered, closely veiled and clad in long mantilla. Hardigoth departed. She advanced quickly as I rose, threw off her disguise, and stood before me, a young and beautiful woman. Her countenance was pale, and her eyes suffused with tears. Then, in trembling accents, "Forgive me, I pray you. This is perhaps unseemly intrusion, but 'tis my sincere desire to serve you. I am the Duchess Alessandra, widow of the late Duke of Basilios, one of the highest peers of the realm. I have long known of you, and 'twas my earnest desire to see one whose courage and gallantry were the theme of praise from all. In company with the daughter of the King Sharatal, with whom this kingdom is in amity, I saw you at the festival of the Princess Solimia." Her voice fell as she struggled to conceal her emotions. "Oh, scorn me not, I implore you, when I confess that from that hour my heart was irrevocably yours. Associated as I have been from early youth with this court, familiar with royal splendors, surrounded by throngs of admirers who obey my slightest wish and would joyfully lay their hearts and fortunes at my feet, their devotion finds no response. I am cold, haughty, and indifferent to all, despising flattery and adulation. You are the only one who ever awakened that sentiment of love in my proud heart. Day after day I, in deepest sorrow, have watched you unseen through all the horrible injustice of that trial. When the dreadful sentence was pronounced, my very soul was crushed in its agony. You are in the hands of a merciless and bloody tyrant who stops at nothing to accomplish his atrocious designs. I, a murderer, whose hands are now reeking with the blood of my young and innocent brother, slain in a duel with the wretch who impugned his sister's honor, and was protected from my brother's vengeful steel by his armor." "God in heaven!" I exclaimed. "Is it possible? Had I known that, not even the pitiful pleadings of his innocent daughter would have saved the ruffian from my sword." For several moments she was almost overcome with emotion, then resumed, King Probitos and the Minister of State were devoted friends of my honored father, who ranked highest among the royal peers of this realm. Were the king able, he would instantly revoke this atrocious sentence, but his mind now wanders in the delirium of his last illness. Diovajar is now regent and wields supreme power. He is inimical to the minister and refuses all his appeals. Then, whispering in my ear, "Listen, Alif and I have determined on your rescue. Our plans are secretly arranged. The next dark and stormy night will be the signal. 1,000 of my retainers, brave and faithful men, trained warriors, masked, will descend in airships on these grounds, will surround this prison, the guards captured. If the governor refuses to deliver the keys, the doors will be broken down, and you will be taken to my palace, the only safe place of refuge, and concealed from all possible search until you can be safely conveyed to Mandal Ultima." At this moment the door opened, and a female attendant, closely veiled, entered. "Oh, my lady," she hurriedly whispered, "we must be gone. The government fears to permit a longer interview. If this should be known to the regent—" Then quickly departing, closed the door. "But if this plan should fail," I replied, "your safety, the minister's, the lives of your brave men, Diovajar's vengeance. Alif incurs no danger. I alone take the hazard. The peril is mine, and as God in heaven hears me, gladly would I die to save you, you who are all the world to me. Farewell." The dauntless soul of this beautiful woman shone in her eyes as they glanced into mine, and a crimson blush mantled in her cheeks as I knelt and kissed her hand. "Farewell," she murmured, "till we meet again," replaced her veil, and quickly departed from the cell. "Now, by the arrows of Cupid and the girdle of Venus," said I to myself, as hurriedly pacing around my cell I strove to collect my scattered faculties. "This bloody drama is progressing with a vengeance. First act over, second act, declaration of love, come and gone. Truly can I say with Macbeth, 2 truths are told as happy prologues to the swelling act of the imperial theme. The plot thickens. What next? The elopement, and I have got to face the irate husband. 'Tis my fate, and as Macbeth says, I must embrace the fate of that dark hour. I must screw my courage to the sticking place, and say with Hamlet, my fate cries out, and makes each petty artery in this body as hardy as every fellow's arteries ought to be, who undertakes to run away with another fellow's better half. But hold, I'm running ahead of my horse. This Duchess can't be the one. She's a widower, and a magnificently beautiful one also. Rank, power, wealth, everything. She would grace a throne, and what's better, loves me devotedly. But the married one will soon put in her superfluous presence on the stage, with fate to back her. What's to be done? I have it. Julius Caesar says, men at some times are masters of their fate. Tennyson says, man is man and master of his fate. And Lucifer says, what I will is fate. All right, I'm ready. And when that designing worser half puts in her appearance, I'll hold on to these prison bars like grim death and smile on her like Lucifer. But hold, who knows what irresistible enticements, what arts, what persuasions that sinful female may employ to seduce me. The Oriental legend says that Satan first yielded to the sinful enticements of a celestial beauty. Anyhow, according to Milton, he had sin for a partner in the form of a lovely creature, half female and half serpent. The great progenitor of my race yielded to female persuasion. King Solomon, ditto, and many a strong and wise man since. The devil's most irresistible temptation lie in lovely women's eyes and smiles. I may yield and fall, as many a better man has fallen. Perhaps the best thing a fellow can do under such distressing circumstances is to kill himself. He saves his honor thereby, and Cato says, it is better to die 10,000 deaths than wound my honor. Quite an array of deaths it must be confessed, and it is very hard to make up one's mind which style to select. I'll confer with these essays on the lawfulness of suicide and the easiest way to shuffle off this mortal coil. So taking up the books, I threw myself on my cot, plunged in media res, read myself to sleep, while delightful visions of elopements, pistols, coffee, knives, halters, and poisons floated amid my dreams.